Cindy.
And I'm Jen.
Hey Jen, did you learn anything interesting this week?
Okay, I did, and I had a couple things in mind, and then last night I was talking to your sister, and she told me about this podcast.
Yeah?
And I guess it's been around for a long time. I had just never heard of it, and it's called The Things You Missed in History Class.
Really?
Yeah, and today's topic, the topic I listened to today was about home economics, but the most interesting part about the podcast was there was a thing called practice babies. Have you heard of that?
A practice baby? No, I haven't. I feel like there's a lot of people out there that might need a practice baby, but I've never heard of it.
So in high school, and I don't know, I think this came right after I was in high school, but did you guys ever have you seen those babies? They're kind of fake babies, and people would take home with them, and they would cry, and you had to feed them every so often.
Yeah, Dalton had one of those.
Yeah, your cousin.
yeah, he had one. I remember that, and I think it ended up being really his mom and dad that took care of it the majority of the time, but
I'm sure
don't tell Dalton I said that.
Yeah, I'm sure that happens to a lot of kids. So that is something I always wanted to do, but this is more extreme than that. This is not a fake baby. This is a real baby. So
what?
Right. And so it's a crazy story, and I don't want to spoil the whole thing, but just the gist of it is, for about 50 years, there were these practice babies, and there were two different kinds. So there was the practice baby that would go into the high school kind of classroom, and they had cottages, and they had some classrooms that were set up to look like homes.
Really?
Yeah, and these babies would stay there, and the babies were from orphanages and things like that.
Oh, wow.
But instead of going to a home at first to be adopted, they would go into this classroom type setting, and these kids would come in and help take care of them as part of this whole home economics program. But then there was a college version, and in the college version, they actually lived, these college seniors would live in this house for a semester. And the whole point was so they would learn how to work as a family unit and take care of different home chores. But part of those home chores were taking care of a live baby.
Wow.
Yeah, and so then there was all kinds of controversy after that. Was that healthy for the baby? Was it not? There was a study that they related to monkeys, and they wanted to see how these babies would fit into that. Would they have long-term damage? Because they were seeing so many different people.
Wow.
So research, do some Googling on practice babies, or listen to that podcast. They explain it a lot better than me. But that's what I learned this week.
That must have been after my time, or before my time.
Yeah,
before my time,
before.
Obviously before my time. But yeah, I wonder how successful that program was. I mean, I guess that, being out of the orphanage would have been nice.
Yeah, and from what they said, that most of those babies went on to be adopted, and a lot of those babies were actually more desirable to be adopted because they knew they had up-to-date care and things like that.
Nice.
So I think overall they were happy with it, but there's a lot of controversy around that. Did you ever take home ec class?
I did. I loved home ec class. I think I took it every year that it was available to me. But of course I was in FHA.
Yeah, we talked about that.
So I loved that. I loved traveling with FHA and doing those fun things. But we never had a practice baby.
Yeah. We didn't either. The most we did, I think we sewed a teddy bear. And I was terrible at that. Still am terrible at sewing. And then we did cooking, and it was just one semester, this class, and I burned my hand. We did homemade tortilla chips, and I got my finger, spilled oil on my finger and this huge blister. So that was my extent of home ec.
Yeah. I didn't have any traumatic stories from home ec.
That's probably good. So what about you? What did you learn this week?
So, people around the Golden Gate Bridge and in that area of San Francisco started hearing a really funny sound. Here, let me play that for you. Okay, so could you hear that? What do you think that is, Jen?
A ghost that lives under the bridge.
Right? Doesn't it sound a little scary? Yeah. Especially in 2020. I mean, with everything going on, and then you just wake up and you hear this weird noise. So people started calling 311. They're also posting on Facebook. They're posting on Twitter. They're saying, is anyone else hearing this weird noise, right?
So strange.
Didn't it sound funny? Like it's a high-pitched kind of weird noise. And so everyone's asking people people on the bridge are hearing it. They're driving and hearing it. They're walking and hearing it. So finally, the government of San Francisco came out and said that they put new slats in the walking area of the bridge, and when the wind blows hard enough, that's what makes the noise. So nothing, extraterrestrial or anything like that. Just simply the wind, and people are just gonna have to deal with it. But you hear it at a pretty far distance, which is kind of cool.
Not going to go away. That's going to be part of it.
Not going to go away. At this time, they don't have any plans to change the design or upgrade it because, of course, they just did the upgrade, which caused the music. Wow. So, yeah.
Just imagine the tourists that don't know the story. Every time they come, they'll be panicking about that bridge noise.
Right. And, just think if it would have happened many, many years ago when, maybe science wasn't behind it or something, and there's no telling what kind of stories could have been around it.
No kidding. That's probably how a lot of those old tales started, because there wasn't the internet, so people from everywhere wouldn't know about that. You wouldn't know about that living in Florida. What's
exactly.
going on, so
Right.
That's so crazy. Okay, so now we're going to go to our new segment, the segment we started last week.
Okay.
Of Take It or Leave It.
Oh, all right. Yes.
Okay, so today's Take It or Leave It is movie theaters. Going to watch a movie in a theater.
Okay.
Take it or leave it.
So I was very much a take it before our new kind of normal. So I would always want to go to the movies. I loved it. I love going. I love sitting there and just focusing on the movie and taking away anything else that is going on in my life, and watching the movie and being engrossed in it, and also enjoyed the popcorn. But right now I'm pretty much a leave it, so I'll probably be a leave it for a while longer. But yeah, I enjoy movies, and I enjoyed the theater. How about you, Jen? Take it or leave it?
Yeah, so growing up, and especially in high school, college, absolutely a take it. I loved going to the movies, and there's so many movies that you have to go to the movies and watch. Like, I remember watching Scream for the first time. Remember that scary movie, Scream?
Yeah.
In high school, and I don't think it would have had the same impact had we watched it at home. So that was just awesome. But I remember Austin Powers, just the opening scene when those movies were new, and Danny DeVito turns around, and it's just kind of that exciting moment, and everybody in the theater has that same shock and excitement. Some of the Star Wars and that kind of thing. Mission Impossible. We watched the Matt Damon movie, the Jason Bourne, I think that was Matt Damon, Jason Bourne movies. Watched it while I was living in Missouri, and at the very end of the movie, I think, maybe it was the beginning, at some point he says, "I'm Jason Bourne from Nixa, Missouri." And so, of course, that's a local town, and everybody is cheering. So for that time in my life, it was a total take it. Later on, as I got older, especially living in Arkansas, a lot of days are kind of like gloomy days, and so on those days I would like to go to the movies. But then when it's a sunny, like, nice day, there's just always so many other things I would rather do than sit in the movie. So I'm kind of more of a nighttime movie person, so I would take it at nighttime, not always during the day. But now probably same, not just because of the whole COVID thing, but there's just always something else to do. I'd rather spend my time at the beach or doing whatever. So I would say probably now I'm more of a leave it on the movies, but I'll definitely go back at some point. And yeah, there's nothing better than movie theater popcorn.
Yeah, right? And you worked at a movie theater too, right?
In high school for a short time. So many crazy stories with that. Definitely don't get the hot dogs if you ever go to the movie theater. And that nacho cheese is so good, but they would add water to it and just keep putting it. They would take it from a can, put it in that bowl thing, that metal warmer.
Oh, yeah,
and then if they didn't sell it at the end of the night, put it back in the can and reuse it. So there's a lot of not so great things there. But yeah, so many good memories though, and I do love movies. But what is that going to look like with popcorn sharing? I guess we didn't really share it with strangers.
No,
so
right.
you would know the person you're going to the movies with. But yeah, maybe get my own popcorn. I don't need anyone's grubby fingers.
Yeah, that probably was gross anyway. We just didn't think about it.
Yeah, right.
So I think that, don't we have something from the mailbag today?
Yeah, we have a question. It's a fun one. It's an anonymous question. And it was an email that we got. And so I will read that to you, and I'll let you answer first.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Hey, Jen and Cindy, please keep this question anonymous. I recently had to travel on an airplane with work for the first time since this whole quarantine started. And I reclined my seat, and the person behind me complained.
Oh.
And when I posted my story on Facebook, it was split 50-50. And I learned that this is an entire debate going on right now. So I'm curious to know, do you think it's rude to recline your seat on an airplane?
Okay, so I don't necessarily think it's rude, and I would never complain to someone if they did it in front of me, but I might be irritated, but I wouldn't share that irritation with them. I think if it's, like let's say you're flying across the ocean, you're going to Germany, you're going to Europe, reclining is kind of normal, right? You're going to need to do that to get comfortable. But just if it's a short flight, under 2 hours, hour and a half, I mean, there's really no need to recline. And space is so limited on planes these days. I feel like out of respect for the person that's sitting behind me, I generally don't recline unless I'm on one of those long haul trips. So for me, I think it not necessarily rude, but I try not to do it unless I'm on a really long trip.
Yeah, and for me, I don't think it's rude at all, just in general. I mean, if they didn't want them to recline, they wouldn't have made reclining seats, right? I don't normally do it, though. I'm not a sleeper on planes. I think the only time I ever have slept on a plane was when we went to the Philippines. We were in those lay-down business class, whatever seats.
And there was room in those, right?
Plenty. Well, they were designed to lay down. Yeah. But yeah, I don't normally do it. I'm normally sitting there reading a magazine and things like that. I have reclined a little bit in the past. I don't know. I really don't know what my situation would be to feel bad about it. I guess I would probably look behind me and see if it seemed like they needed more leg room. Maybe I wouldn't do it at that point, but other than that, I probably would just do it if I wanted to and not if I didn't. And if somebody had a problem with it, as long as they were kind and asked me nicely, hey, can you put it up? I do think probably when the food trays, like I think that's probably something that people have a problem with if they want to put their tray down and you're reclined, and that makes it harder. So maybe when your food comes, if you're getting food or snacks, which, I don't know, maybe not at that point. But in general, I don't think there's a problem with reclining your seat if you want to. I think it's more of a respect thing. Just if the, person behind you has a problem with it, then just have a discussion. Or, if you're kind of worried about what people think, just say, hey, do you mind if I recline my seat? But
just determine if it's that important to you or not, even to really,
But you paid good money for that seat. Recline if you'll want to.
I'm more of I'll probably lean towards not reclining, but that's, whatever you want to do.
I will say now I'll probably think about it a little bit more before I do it. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Send some more.
Yeah, don't forget you can leave a voice question too. And we won't read your name unless you ask us to. So you can kind of stay anonymous there as well. So leave us a voice question or email and we will read your question next week on our next episode.
Yeah. So today we have a guest on the patio that we're super excited about.
Yeah, and one thing we love about this podcast is that we kind of keep it true to how we are in real life on the patio. Most of the time, they're kind of chill, laid back conversations, a lot of laughter, and then sometimes we bring in some more serious topics. So today we kind of have a balance of both, and we have a great guest. We hope you guys will love our guest as much as we did. And there is a special cameo by her son. So please stay tuned and listen. And if you didn't notice, we did release this a little bit later than normal. We just made a choice to sit back and listen rather than talk this week. We took some time to do that. We shared some information about that on our Instagram stories if you follow us there. But that was just a choice that we made this week, so we released it a little bit late, but better late than never.
Yes. And we'll get back on schedule for next week. We already have someone lined up.
And as always, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, but please leave us a review on iTunes if you don't mind. You can pause it right now and do that. That helps us as we're a newer podcast to get featured in the new and noteworthy section of iTunes.
Yes, that would be awesome. We would love to hear from you.
So thanks again for joining us.
Let's join our guest on the patio. We have someone that I have known most of my life, right? Someone that is one of my most favorite people in the world, my cousin, Amber Blicker. Amber, welcome to the patio.
Hey, nice to be here all the way from Kansas City, Missouri. Hey.
Woo! Right, Kansas City, Missouri.
Home of the Chiefs.
Home of the Chiefs, baby. Isn't that crazy?
So thank you so much for joining us. Whenever we first decided we were going to do a podcast, you were on our list for guests that we had to have. We just didn't know that when you came, it would be this crazy time that we're in. But we're excited to talk to you. So can you tell the listeners who don't know you just a little bit about yourself, who you are,
Sure. Well, I'm Cindy's cousin, Janet's cousin. Hey, fam. I'm a behavioral specialist at a high school, a head track coach, coach basketball for 20 years, track for 20 years. Kind of on my downhill out the door of education, but we'll see. I'm a criminal justice major, so I'm figuring that out. Like, what I'm going to do with that is so broad. And so right now it's been kind of interesting in my classes, just with the things that are going on.
Yeah.
I tend to kind of sit back and be quiet and then try to hit them with something, that we didn't look at in the class. So I kind of like that aspect of being online. And that's about it. I got a 3-year-old. I'm 45. Ooh, Jesus.
Wow. We want to hear all about that. So
Okay.
you're tired.
Judah has kept me, a little, way more active. We go on about 3 walks a day.
Nice.
Nothing major, but, just to get out. And he's busy. And so anyway, he's my baby blessing for sure.
That's awesome. I was going to ask you how old he was now, but you said he's 3.
Yeah,
and gosh, you've just got so much going on with school, a 3-year-old, and work. I mean, it's not like you don't work as well.
Right.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Can't even imagine.
So have you been working from home?
I did a little bit, but because of my job, I'm really interactive with the kids. And so with them being at home, some of them good environment, some maybe not so much. I reached out to some at the beginning of all of this, the COVID stuff and schools shutting down. But towards the end, they were like, we're good. They're fine, So I think we checked and hovered and checked and made sure they were okay. At some point, they were like, look, if we need something, we'll get to you. I said, cool. So I did some work and I went in and worked, did some things around the school, cleaned out the locker room for the PE coaches with another staff member just because they needed help and we're getting paid. So thank God for that.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm not sure that would happen again if something like this happened. But I think because it was so rare that what they gonna do, what we're supposed to do. So yeah, I'm appreciative.
So you've been a coach, and I didn't realize you were a coach for 20 years. That's awesome. But you've been a coach and now you're a mom, especially of a young son and a young Black son in this environment. What are you most concerned about with him and with raising him right now, especially?
My biggest thing right now is to protect him. So at this age, I'm not trying to go to Children's Mercy, to the kids' hospital. I'm not trying to do any of that, So my biggest thing is just being protective of him. Not overly protective, but just enough. And I just hope that between his dad and I, that we can, instill in him the values of what our families are like, So I'm quick to be like, well, call the police or do this or do that, but I expect his dad to be totally opposite, like, forget the police type of attitude. You know what I'm saying? So we have to balance him out and teach him, what's going on, because by the time he starts driving or even walking with a group of friends, I am an older parent, so there'll probably be times where, he's 15, I'm like, go ahead on, just go ahead. Go ahead, I'm not taking it, whatever. So I just think that we have to instill in him the foundations that we were instilled in. We come from, his dad and I come from completely different backgrounds. So I think that's a good thing because we talk about that. I'm, the nurturer. He's going to make sure that he's strong and solid and doesn't get bullied and doesn't get those type of things. You know what I'm saying? So I think he's going to have that good balance, I'm hoping. But my biggest thing right now is just to protect him, from this world. I think that's the hardest job is, some people will be like, I don't want to be a parent because of this crazy world we live in. But now it's like that I am a parent. I'm like, oh, it's a big job. It's a big job, So
I bet it is. Yeah. You mentioned your background a little bit. Do you want to tell us? Of course, I know it, but do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. I was interracially adopted.
Really? What? No, just kidding.
I know. She's the adopted one. We used to hear that growing up when I would be around some of our family members, that the outside family, not our immediate family. I've only felt, and I've never shared this, so Watch out
I'd
now.
love to hear it.
I might have shared it with Cindy before, but I only felt one person looked at me different in our family. But ever since I started playing sports, and I was gonna tell him this one day, like, ever since I started playing sports and I was playing at a college level, he changed his mind. I don't know. It just felt different. Our relationship grew, and now with I have my son, you can't tell me nothing. He can't, you know what I'm saying? He loved my son. He shows it, he says it. He wants pictures all the time. I think getting older, but that's the only pressure I felt from our family, but it wasn't anything that like stunted my thought process in anything. You know what I mean? Like I was like, whatever. But anyway, interracially adopted into a family. I'm the only one of color in our family. Immediate family, we have cousins and stuff that have married or whatever, but I think it's a great personality trait for myself because I get to see both sides. Sometimes, like right now, it's kind of hard. I will be honest. Sometimes it's kind of hard. When there's pressures of what's going on in our Black community versus our white community. Do I talk about it to my mom? Does she, I can't really talk about it to mom because she doesn't understand.
Right.
She doesn't, whatever. So, but so just, been adopted twice, have found my birth family. They are not responsive at all to me, which was sad, but he is Caucasian. My mother was white, my father was Black, but there was no known information on my father. So my mother, we have her name. I have an older sister that has passed away. She's about a year older than me. And then I have a brother who's younger than me, but he talked to me probably a good day or two. And then I haven't talked to him since. And he's a teacher. He's a coach. Yeah, he's a coach, a basketball coach, a softball coach.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm like, how did we get all these same personality or characteristics in our lives, and two different lives, but coaches, athletes, whatever. But he will not respond to me. He will not talk to me. But I had heard in some information through another friend that I had reached out to that their family was racist. So maybe that's why I was even put into the system, maybe. But he's not, with him, the way he's acting, that's what makes me think that he doesn't like people of color. Because he's not responding back. I didn't want anything from him. I don't need nothing. I don't need a brother. I got a brother. I don't need another one.
Right, right.
You just wanted to meet your family.
Yeah, I just wanted to, really for health purposes, especially when I was pregnant with Judah, because I didn't know. I wanted to, be aware of some things. And I found out like some traits that I had when we did some DNA tests that are predominantly in white people. Wow. But I carry that trait. So I would have never known that type of stuff if I wouldn't have got that DNA testing when I was pregnant. So it was kind of cool. But
yeah, I didn't even think about that part of it.
Yeah.
The medical part of it.
And my older sister, she passed away from cancer. So, going to the doctor, for some of us, when the doctor says, hey, do you have any past? You can say, yeah, my dad has this, my mom has this, my uncle passed this. Well, I could always just say, I'm adopted. No, I'm adopted. And so now I say, well, I do have a half sister that passed, of cancer, just in case something like that was to come up, but it hasn't. So
yeah. So I mean, you have such a cool, unique story. So how did that really shape you, just being raised by the parents that you had? And then did you guys move and live anywhere that was different from another place you lived? Where you
that's a good question too, Jen. We lived in Illinois for a long time and then moved to Alaska. And the ratio, I had never been in school with a Black student. I have never been in school with African-American kids until we moved to Kansas City, so till I was in high school. So Alaska was very, very Native American, the Alaskan tribes and stuff, and then white people. I did have a Black fourth grade teacher though in Alaska.
Wow.
Which was my first, and their family was the only family in town. And so she just happened to be my teacher, which was, I didn't look at it any different way because I hadn't really been around a lot of Black people, to be honest. So I didn't look at it any different way. She ended up doing my hair for me, for my mom. Because when we were growing up in Illinois, mom would have the college kids come and do my hair. And then she kind of learned, but not enough for her to just take it over. And then when I got to Alaska, my fourth grade teacher used to do it. And then she taught my mom how to, take care of it better. So that was kind of
Nice.
cool. But other than that, I mean, always, been the only person of color in my class, but it didn't bother me, as far as a Black person, it didn't bother me because I didn't know any different. It was just people. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But it really hit me when we moved to Kansas City.
So was that culture shock for you then in
Very
Kansas
much
City?
so. Because moving from Alaska, didn't feel anybody that was looking at me different, any of that kind of stuff. Moved to Kansas City, was in high school, sophomore year. People were mean. The Black kids were mean. Just this one particular girl always stands out. She always used to talk about how I spoke, my dialect. And back then I didn't understand what she was talking about. I'm like, well, but now I want to say, if I was born in Mexico, I probably speak Spanish. So what, it just is your environment. This is your community. This is your environment. This is your culture. This is how you're going to talk. So that didn't register with me then like it does now.
Yeah.
So I carried a big complex about that for a long time. Like, am I supposed to speak a certain way or whatever? But the Black kids when I moved to Kansas City weren't very nice to me at first. And I did have, I met some people through sports, and, there were some other Black girls that were really nice to me who were friends to this day, but they teased me about my hair, my dialect, the fact that, my brother was coming to school with me every day, so they thought we were dating because
They did.
because we were riding together. We were riding.
yeah.
They'd see us ride to school together after school. He played basketball for just one season when we got here. He was at all my games. People just assumed we were dating, so that became a problem. So it just was stupid. But eventually, when I got to know people and involve myself into the school, that stuff all went away. So
Nice. Do you think that was your first experience with racism, or do you think it happened at an earlier time, or do you remember that?
To be honest, I think that I'll be honest, the family situation that I was speaking of was probably my first, like, why am I getting treated different than everybody else? But that might have been just my being spoiled at that age. I don't know, but I just know that particular Christmas, I didn't get what everybody else got. And that stuck with me for a long time. I didn't look at it as racism because I didn't know. I didn't know what that word meant. When I came to Kansas City, I really still didn't know what that word meant. It was more like, they're just not nice. Why are they treating me different? Why are they talking about my hair? Because I didn't treat other people like that. I hadn't, picked some of that skills up, so I didn't look at it, but now to look back, maybe so, but it was within our own culture, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't know, like I said, I just didn't know because I don't look for that stuff. I didn't know how to read that stuff back then. And even still to this day, if I feel it, then it's real, because that's how I feel, because I don't look for it. I don't, earlier today I said, well, I would just call the police, and somebody said, the police, what they gonna do, just kill you? And I was like, yeah, maybe that's a little oversensitive to say that right now, but I wasn't thinking like that. So
yeah,
I don't know.
So do you think your experience then moving helped you want to become a coach in the school system? And then can you relate better to the kids since you kind of felt such a big culture shock there?
I coach at my alma mater, where I went to high school. So very passionate about it. Our school is extremely diverse, but all the kids, of course, don't know my story. Mom, I got pride. Anyway, I became a coach because I thought it was easy to go to college that way. And I wanted to be a coach of basketball. I just wanted to go to college to be basketball, and that's why I'm still finishing college to this day, because it doesn't work like that. But I've been able to, do it with the laws that, in Missouri, you can coach whatever with 60 hours, so whatever. But one of the things at my school with the job that I do too, we probably have the most African Americans in the district, employees at our school. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we have a lot more of us than any other school in our district, which is kind of sad. It's very sad because our population is pretty diverse, but it's very close, so it might be like 52 African Americans, and then break it down, and then like 50 white kids, and then break it down from there. So we're very diverse, but yet they don't see a lot of people of color at the school. So when the kids come to me, they're mad, angry, upset, whatever. So sometimes I respond to them different than what they're accustomed to maybe at home. yelling and hollering and cussing out and stuff like that. And then there are some parents that are very graceful and kind, and so they get the middle of that coming from me, but they respond to me a lot because of my color. They have no idea of my story, so sometimes I'll explain that to them. They'll see pictures of Hope or Judah or my mom or whatever in my office, and so they'll be like, "Who is that?" And so I'll explain to them, and then it just opens doors. But I think that with my experiences, I've been able to give a lot of balance. So
That's great.
in coaching and in just with the kids that I work with.
So do they, at their age right now, with being such a diverse school, do they have a lot of racial inequality questions for you or experiences that you see in the school?
A lot of times it's crazy because they don't bring it up a lot. We don't have a lot of race issues now. We do. There are kids that will be like, it's because she's white. She don't like black people. Blah, blah, blah. But then I have, as an adult and as a coworker, sometimes I have to excuse behavior, but like, she wouldn't work here. They wouldn't work here if they didn't like African American kids. Well, that's not true, and I know that. They don't know that, but I know that. You know what I'm saying? I have to say that. I say that to kids all the time, but sometimes that's not always true. And I learned that different ways, but I still have to be professional and be like, now, come on now. But the kids can feel it sometimes too. They feel it, but we don't have tension. We don't have racial well, we don't. We didn't. I think when we come back, if this stuff is still hype, we will.
Yeah, because this happened while you guys were all out in school, and it's summer break, I guess.
Yeah, it's summer break, but I see, like, I'm friends with some parents of ours on Facebook because I was friends with them before or whatever. Their kids are protesting. Kids are watching their parents. They're so they're going to come to school, and is it going to be, don't sit next to me because you might have the virus, or is it going to be, don't sit next to me because, you're too.
So kids are going through so much right now.
It's going to be a lot. Yeah, they're going through a lot. It's going to be very interesting. Very, very interesting.
All the things that are going on, does it make you hopeful for change? Do you think that it's going to facilitate change?
Honestly, I don't know unless we get a different person running the ship, because we feed off of your leader. Whether it's good or bad, we feed off of our leaders. And so right now, I don't see it getting better. I think a lot is being said, and I think a lot is being heard, but ultimately, I personally don't feel like it's going to get better unless your leader gets better. I mean, it's just like a team. If the coach is bad, we're going to just keep losing. No matter who you bring in, what they say, what powerhouse it is, you got to win. And I don't think we're going to win a championship with this one. I just feel like we feed off of him. And as long as there's statements that are being made and things that are going to be said that are negative, it's just going to keep adding fuel to the fire. Yeah. And I think people have already had an opinion that was way deeper than before all of this happened, and then on top of it. So I think everybody who is, making a stand and doing all the things that we're doing, I think that makes us move forward. But I don't know if it's enough, I guess.
That makes sense. I think I agree with that. And I think from my perspective, I think we talked about this a little in Messenger, but I always thought that, like, just not being racist was enough, right? I'm not a racist. I mean, I have Amber, right? Like, how can what? Yeah, I know. It's terrible. I know. It's terrible. And so, but this has really made me look inside and really realize that that's not right. There have probably been several times in my life where I could have, stood up for the right thing, and I didn't. And, so I know that I need to use my privilege to do that moving forward. And it's so I think I'm not the only one. I think that there are probably other people like that as well. So hopefully we can get progress there. But what do you think progress?
Well, I think I posted yesterday, progress, not perfection, I think is what I posted. And I put that there for different reasons. One, what's going on in America. Two, relationships. I'm just trying to make better relationship decisions. But I think that to make progression towards this, and this is something that I don't know if everybody would agree, but we're in the class that I'm taking, like literally right now, is called Inequality and Crime.
Wow.
So we're talking about all these things. We're talking about women. We're talking about people in jail, just all these things, even Muslims and Hispanics and all these different races and how they're treated by all these different groups and in the courts and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, the biggest thing that I keep feeling from my classes is community change, like relationships. We have to have better relationships with our police department. We have to have better relationship with people in a uniform. Bottom line, what that uniform is, in a uniform. Because even if you take it down to the person at McDonald's in a uniform, these people are fighting over McDonald's, so have respect for that person in a uniform, whatever that uniform is. But then when it comes to the police and the police department, building better building better relationships, because these things happen. We do all of this, but we don't bridge the gap enough. Right. And I think that the police departments, they've always said police officers are hot-headed and this and that and other, and it's a stressful job and this and that and the other. But I just think that they need the training, and then community people that are trying to bridge the gap need training too, because I don't know where we would start. That's the hard part. I mean, even in our schools, we kicked the police department out of our schools because of the examples and how they were taking care of the kids and when things would happen. But they were being police officers who are trained to do what? Keep us safe, have people not breaking the law. Like the military, they're trained to kill. They're not going to shoot you in your kneecap. They're going to kill you. So, do we understand the police training too? I'm getting ready to work with our police chief in Raytown. He just texted me about 2 days ago and wants me to do coffee and sit down and talk, because he wants me to help bridge the gap between the schools and the community.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And his daughter played basketball for me, and so we have a relationship. His kids all went through Raytown, so we have their family. I have a relationship with their family, but he just got the job in Raytown as the police chief, and has tons of experience. But anyway, we have to bridge the gap between the community, I feel like, and the younger generation. Because even if, like, when we see a police officer in the car, I don't say anything negative. When we hear sirens or we see a police officer, or the day that I got pulled over and I was like, and he started talking to Judah. He was talking to Judah, and I was in my head, I was like, don't talk to my son. You're taking $100 out of his mouth. You're taking $100 out of his mouth. You know what I'm saying? But I couldn't do that. I had to be, because of the example that I'm setting for Judah. So I just think that we even have to start younger because of the history that has happened with these killings and stuff, So I think that's the biggest thing, bridging the gap with the community, with the leaders of our community, police department, the mayors and the Senate and all, all those people. So
that's good. Yeah.
I think that's so important, just in anything, and just communication is key in so many things, and getting to know each other. And then you always hear, it's a joke. We joked about it tonight with you. It's like, I have that, one friend that's different, so I couldn't be, against them. And in reality, we think that way, I think, because when you start to know somebody who's different from you, you don't think that you could hurt them intentionally. Right. And once you start to get to know people and have those communications and those conversations, then you can understand them better and understand how you actually could hurt them. And then you can start to make change. So maybe more conversations, more communication.
Yeah.
Less anger.
Open dialect too. Open dialect. Because even in relationships, whether if it's your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your wife, whatever, your communication has to be on point. And that's something that I don't do very well due to technology. I'll text it before I'll talk to you.
Yeah, me too.
And that's silly. That's silly to me. It's never, I'm even older, so we should not have to do that. That's the younger kids talk like that. But communication is big, and having open communication, like, people that are powerful in your city get with the people that are making the laws and the changes in your city and put them together and make a plan and work that plan, because people have to see it and feel it to know that it's going to change. When you feel the change, that's why, some of this is kind of, I have been kind of quiet, but it like, some people are like, look, I mean, are we doing it for the right reasons? Or, because like some people are like posting their Black kids with white friends, and I'm like, okay, you have to prove to yourself that you like brown people, that you like Black people. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Be a voice, stand up, you know, be nice to people, all people. But I don't know.
Yeah, do what's right, not just because it's trendy.
Yeah,
Right.
that's I was like, are people doing this because of the moment, or are they doing this because they just want to show people that they have white friends and black friends and they can get to along? And you know, because I have a ton of white friends and I love all my friends. I have all different races of friends. You good to me, I'm good to you. I don't care what the behind.
You said
I don't believe that all police are bad. You know, I don't believe that.
No.
I won't.
Right. Well, not all people are bad, so not all police can be bad, right? Because they're people.
Right.
I mean, you know, that's in the end, we're all human. We're all people. Right. How does it make you feel when someone says all lives matter instead of Black Lives Matter, or how does it feel when someone says Black Lives Matter?
Well, I think that all lives matter, but right now our Black lives are in danger, and they have been for a long time. And it's statistical. It's not something we're making up. It's not something that Black people are making up. And it doesn't just go from, oh, I wrote a bad check, I'm gonna get in trouble for it. We're talking economically, mental health. You know, we haven't had the same doors open to us as some other races, and so our lives matter right now because our lives are being taken unfair, you know. And so, but I do believe, yes, all lives matter, but we got to take care of the ones that are getting killed right now, you know. Right. If this was a different race, I just think that, you know, when hey guys, I gotta eat breakfast.
Okay.
Go cook it over there. Can you go cook it in your kitchen? Yeah, I do. Okay. So I just think that, you know, all lives matter all the time. Yes, we're people, we're human. I believe that. I care about other people.
Right.
But like I said, Black lives are the ones that are hurting right now.
Right.
You know, nonstop at a very fast pace. You know, it's a problem.
Yep.
So I it's not that I disagree with the all lives matter, but I also feel like we don't just march around every day to my all lives matter every day. That could be a daily thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But right now our Black lives are the ones that are hurting.
Yep.
And being treated wrong. And people just want to bring that up. You know, they just want to get that out. Like, this is what's going on. This is what's been going on. Like, we got to stop. It's not okay. He just love, you know, we Zoom.
I have now, so
we're just going to do some fun, quick questions.
Rapid fire questions.
And then we'll let you get back,
to
your kiddo.
Biggest pet peeve, my biggest pet peeve is when you text somebody and you're talking and then they don't respond back. Like, you say question, or they'll say good morning and you say good morning and then that's it.
What's the coolest thing you've ever won?
My biggest, well, I probably won, I won a TV my senior year at the project graduation.
Awesome.
And I kept it for like 4 years for my dorm room and stuff.
Nice.
But then last year I won our Christmas party. We had raffles and I won a scratch off thing, and then I won like 30 shots of alcohol, like all in the same night. I was like, cool, let's go. Day. Drinks on me. Little shots. So it was kind of fun. So I got
That's awesome. Okay, strange one. If you could be any animal, what would it be?
An elephant.
An elephant, and why?
One thing is because you don't see a skinny elephant, and I'm not skinny right now, but I love them. I love elephants. I love theirs.
Nice.
Okay.
So if you could have dinner with any famous person, alive or dead, any famous person that's alive or dead, who would it be?
Now it would either be, I know this is crazy, but Michelle Obama, because I just love her swag too, and her just how she talks is real. It's just real. And I think she's so pretty anyway. And then Ellen, because I think she's hilarious, and it would just be nonstop laughing.
Yes.
Could you imagine the two of them together?
That would be great.
They're hilarious together, man.
They have a fun. Remember, they went shopping together one time, and I was like, I want to go shopping with them. Yeah.
Yeah,
they were at Target. It was so funny, but really those two right now, because I just think that Michelle, I've been reading her book, and so I watched the Netflix thing, and I just really fell more in love with her than I already was. So.
She's outstanding.
She is. What is your favorite thing in your fridge right now?
This margarita that's in there.
Okay. Mama needs a margarita.
Wine, probably. A bottle of wine.
Okay, and what kind of wine do you go for?
It's the Stella Rose.
Okay.
Oh, Jen loves that too.
Yes, the Stella Rose. Yes. It's kind of sweet, kind of bubbly.
Yeah.
It's a good go-to just to chill.
That's mine too, for sure.
Yes.
Okay, if you could be a family member on any sitcom, what show would you pick?
I think Claire Huxtable right now because
Oh, cool.
I always growing up, I always loved her hair. I was like, I want my hair to be like Claire Huxtable's hair. Always bouncy, always moving. But no matter what was going on, she was running it. She was in charge. She was in charge of her household.
Yeah.
She got her work together, and I just thought she was a good example. And I just like her power. They would always listen to her and follow what she said, and Cliff too.
That's the truth. First thing you'd buy if you won the lotto.
Oh man, I love it. I would buy. I probably would buy my house and my mother. Well, my mother's house is already done, but I'd probably redo it all. Just because she probably wouldn't want to move, but I would just like update it a little even more than it is, and just make it more comfy. Open it up, and then buy my house because that's what I'm trying to do right now. So.
Nice. That's awesome.
I think it's educating.
Amber, it's been so much fun.
Thank you, seriously.
It has been fun.